George, it's great to have you back. Good morning.
Great to be here. Good morning.
It's actually a really opportune time to talk about this because of some of these reports of denial of service attacks in Ukraine last couple of days. Talk to me about some of the metrics in this report. Where are we essentially?
Well, unfortunately, cybersecurity and the state of it continues to get worse each year from an attack perspective. And we've called that out in our report. When you look at some of the stats, 82% increase in ransomware-related data theft and extortion. This is a key measure. Now, what we mean by that is when organizations get hit by ransomware, not only do they have to pay for the recovery of that data, but they're actually being extorted if they don't pay by the adversaries who are leaking this data on the internet. So essentially, they're losing control of the situation. It's almost like a hostage crisis where hostages are being injured until someone pays, and it's really problematic. We've seen that increase. Companies have gotten better in restoring their backups, but the adversaries are continuing to evolve, and this data leak is really impactful because of the potential fines and government sanctions in some cases if critical information is leaked.
Right. And you say adversaries. Are we talking state or non-state actors, or is that line so blurry now it's hard to tell the difference?
Well, it's a great question, and it is being blurred. If you look at North Korea, obviously a state actor, but they do make a lot of money on ransomware-related attacks. It's a great way for a country that's under embargo to get money in and out of the country. When you look at organizations like Russia, a lot of the state-sponsored actors are able to moonlight in off hours, and we see activity from them as part of the e-crime group. So we basically break this down into three key areas or three key adversary groups. One is nation state, the second one is e-crime, and the third is hacktivism. And we've seen activity on the rise in all three of those. But one of the problematic areas is that we've seen a lot of the nation state techniques and their weaponry actually move downstream into the e-crime world. What that means is e-crime actors know how to weaponize something that might have been created by a nation state actor. Maybe they couldn't create it themselves. They know how to weaponize it, and they've been very effective at doing that, particularly in the ransomware area.
Hey, George, it's Deirdre. We've also seen more attacks on critical infrastructure. I wonder if you think that will continue. And also, over the last year or so, we've heard about the end of sort of voluntary standards, the government trying to get private enterprise to tell them more, comply more. Is that actually happening? How can you tell?
Well, I think when you look at critical infrastructure, it is an area that we really need to pay attention to. And a lot of the critical infrastructure is not government owned, right? It's private owned, or it's kind of a quasi-government entity. And unfortunately, the technologies tend to be older operating systems, things that aren't always patched because people don't want to update them for fear that they might cause an outage. I think when you look at some of the pipeline attacks that we've seen in the past, it really has given us an indication of how brittle and fragile our infrastructure is. And I can tell you from a government perspective, it has a lot of attention. And I think hopefully we're moving in the right direction with some of the recommendations and the standards to upgrade those systems.